Hi, it's Tuesday, June the 4th. Had to stop and think about it a moment. Want to welcome everybody, and welcome to my new subscribers, and welcome to those who've stuck with me this long. You know, I always forget to say thank you for coming and joining me. It's not, on purpose. It's just I'm excited about getting on to whatever we're getting on to. Anyway, I have a couple of finished items, but first I wanted to share a happy mail. I got a package from Mary Beth Watkins, and I'm going to read the note, Mary Beth, because I thought it was cute. It says, Dear Jane, well, poop. I saw the Walmart rant, so when I went, I thought I'd try to help you out. Nope, wrong fabric. Oh well, maybe you can use it. Mary Beth, I can use any kind of fabric. But this is absolutely beautiful. See if I've got it. Make sure I've got it up the right side. My Walmart does not have this fabric in, and it is stunning. It is absolutely gorgeous. And yes, I'm going to use it. I'm actually going to use it as the main focus of a small lap quilt. We have some lap quilts that we need to get made for some of the ladies in the nursing home. And I'm going to use this and build it up with some other colors, borders around the edges. And that's going to be a nice little lap robe for someone in a nursing home. So thank you. I can definitely use that. Today has been kind of an interesting day. My husband has gone to have coffee with his old secretary, and it's kind of funny because she asked me if I liked anise or anise. You know, I've always pronounced it anise because that's the way I learned it when I was in New Mexico. You know, it's like pecans and pecans, progress and progress. You know, you learn a different way because of the area that you're at. But I don't like licorice, and that's what anise reminds me of. And I told her, I said, it has to be very, very subtle for me. It's one of the reasons I don't like a lot of Italian sausages, because I think they put way too much of it in. More of a sage girl. Basil, those kind of flavors. But yeah. And apparently she has made some pizzelles and wanted to send them home. And so she said, I'll give them to Thomas. He can take them to school, which is fine. Doesn't bother me a bit. But she's always wanting to make sure, that Thomas brings me home the goodies, if she's bringing goodies, because one time he didn't. And I think a couple days later, we were at crocheting, and she's like, so what'd you think of those cookies? And I said, what cookies? I'm like, yeah, you and the hubby have a secret handshake, secret cookies. I love to tease her because she's very strict, upright Catholic, and it just horrifies her, that I might actually think there's something going on. I know there's nothing going on. So, anyway, I'd gotten this yarn last time, and I had worked it up, and I had chosen to do the larger hat, but the problem was I didn't have enough to finish what I thought was enough to finish the hat, so I added on a little bit of yellow, did do the pom-poms on there, and I think it's adorable. Now, no, it's not for me, it's going off to charity, but I did like the way that it came out with all those different types of yarn in it, so it's a nice little feature. You know, Llama Mama has the new June bingo cards are out, so of course. One of the things that drives me nuts, I don't know about you, but I have a lot of those loyalty cards for everywhere under the sun. And it seems like I never have the right one when I need it. And I know that there's a device you can, an app you can store all of that in your phone. But some of those you need to be able to swipe them where you're at. So now I have a little carrying case that I just crocheted up, little crazy button on it, so it'll hold all those cards in my purse. You know, we all have a purse that has way too much stuff. No, never. And then I made a couple of soap sacks. And of course, this was last month's bingo, I think. Yep. And this was with that new peaches and cream stripes. I'm not a real big fan of peaches and cream, simply because I think it's kind of rough. And this is rough still. This was done with a, what is it? I love this cotton. Hobby Lobby brand. Was some that I had left over. And I was like, man, that's a small one. But it'll go for some of the soaps. And this is another one of the I Love This Cotton colors. And it's a little bit bigger. I actually just made it bigger. Added more chains from this one. It's the same pattern. And I made it a little taller because some of those Yardley soaps that you can get at Dollar Tree for $1, they're a little bit bigger. And my idea was to make soap sacks for the senior boxes this year. So I've started making soap sacks, those kind of things. And yesterday I made this with what I had left of my red, white, and blue stripes. That's all I had left of a ball. Made a washcloth. And of course that will go for the senior boxes as well. I also made another one, but I'm not going to show that one because it's going for something that I'm going to do later on in the month. And yeah, it's going to go for that. And then that ice yarn, I did finish the Afghan. And here it is. It's folded in half. It's not really an Afghan, it's really more of a lap robe. As you can see, it fits across the lap. And on the border I used came from Crochet Nuts. She does a couple of borders for corner to corner, and so I did that one. I had remembered that one, and I just wanted to do one plain row around. She does have where you can do 2 or 3 different rows, and they come out very nice. I've used her tutorials for a couple of the corner to corner for borders, because I always think when you just leave it, straight, for some reason it just seems too angular, too sharp. And so I generally will do, a single crochet in between each one of the blocks and chain 3. And then normally what I've done in the past is just done a shell stitch around it. But I think with this ice yarn, that's more of a man's color. So I wanted to leave it more, looking a little more angular, but still soften up the edges a little bit. So that's why I chose that one which is basically you're doing the blocks around, in those chain threes. So it came out pretty nice. I'm thrilled with that. Um, Current whips in works that are in progress is my cravat, and it is not a scarf. I did not realize there was a difference, and there is. So I learned what a cravat is compared to a scarf. So I will insert a picture here. Now I do only have two other works in progress at the current moment, and they are across the room, and I'm not going to grab them. One is the loom knit poncho that I was working on. I did decide I don't think I'm going to turn it into a poncho, because basically all it is putting a button up on one edge and bringing it up. I think I'm going to leave it like it's a wrap because of the color choices that I'm using with it. And that is the one that is the cherry red by Red Heart. I am going to, once I finish this one section, I will be changing out the color to white. I think you can figure out where this is going. I'll do white for a little bit, and then I will end it with some blue. The only other thing that I have that I've been working on is that one by Mike Pico, the second shell, and I haven't done any work on it since I last showed it, so we'll leave it at that. So that's it for this episode, with the exception of, have you ever walked through a colon? No? Well, let's take a walk. See, that walk wasn't so bad. It's a really short walk. Come on. Don't be afraid. It was just a blown up colon. The reason I decided to do that is because May the 29th was National Health and Senior Day, and at our local mall, Lycoming Mall, the UPMC and a bunch of other people had a nice setup going. We had the Y out there doing some chair yoga, which is basically they plan it for someone who is disabled. Now in our area it's hard to find yoga that isn't like $60 a class. The Y is a little more affordable. And my son, I've told you before, he keeps telling me that I need to look for a class that does restorative yoga. There are no classes around here that I've been able to find that do restorative yoga. However, yoga in the chair I think would be a starting point to help. So I am looking into that. So there may be some visits to the Y. Of course, the Y in Muncie is right there by the mall, and AC Moore and Michaels. So you know what'll happen. I'll be doing some visits. Oh, well, you can never have enough yarn, right? Okay. But I thought going through the colon is a good thing for many of us. We don't realize when we start having issues with our bowels that it might be something telling us to go have something checked out. Most of us that are women do mammograms. I do mine yearly because I have a history of family, um, cancer in the family, breast cancer. So I don't have the marker for the genes, but that is something I insist on having done every year. Mainly because I'm very large breasted, and radiologists always make that excuse. They're dense, it's hard to see, but so far it looks clear. I have had periods, I have an area that I have asked them to look at, so that I'm going to, when I go for my next breast exam, they're actually going to do an ultrasound on that area because it is actually on the chest wall. It is not part of the breast, but it's just right there at the breast on the chest wall. And I do have that scheduled later this month. So I have asked for that specifically to be looked at because it is an area that I'm a little concerned about. It's not real big, but it's a little area that I've never felt there before, and I just want it double checked. So that's all we're going to do is double check it. Colon cancer screening is something that a lot of people do not like doing. But I think everyone should do it. Their recommended age is 50. I would suggest for a lot of us, we probably need to start having our first one at age 40. That's just personal for me. Mine, I've been doing them since I was 39. And the reason being is because I had some areas in my gut that were troubling me. I had a lot of soreness, and this is time during when my gastroparesis was in full mode. But I had an area on my abdomen that every time anything touched it, it felt like it was a bruise, and it was a bruise that was deep within. So we ran all the tests, and what we found is I actually had Crohn's disease. Now, I just had a small inflammatory area there, so we watched it. They did go ahead and put me on some of the medications for Crohn's, which, if you've ever taken any of those medications, one of them was one called Pendasa, and I swear that pill was about as big as my thumb, and you took 4 of them 4 times a day. We did that for about a year and a half. We went in, we did another colonoscopy. Looks like it's cleared up. I was no longer having those issues, so we're calling it in remission for now. However, it's important for us to look after our bodies. If we don't take care of ourselves, we can't take care of our families. So, something to consider if you've been putting it off. Yeah, the prep is kind of because you got to take that nasty drink and clean yourself out. That's the worst part of the colonoscopy. Seriously, that is the worst part. After that, easy breezy. So if you're due for a colonoscopy, get it. There's no reason for us to be dying of cancer, colon cancer, if we can catch it early enough. Now, one other area. This has nothing to do with health, but did anybody else heart stop when the tornado sirens went off on Crystal's Live? My heart stopped because that is not a normal sound to hear. And I'm going to tell you a story when I was a teenager. My mother had recently passed away. My father, in his ultimate wisdom, was scared to death of raising girls on his own. So he moved us back to his home where his mother lived, Fort Smith, Arkansas. Well, Daddy had found a house, and he was, doing some, they were flipping, him and my grandfather were buying houses, flipping them, then reselling them at the time. Excuse me. Well, the normal routine was for me, this is after my mother passed, was to take my sister to school. Then I went on to high school. She was in middle school. After school, I'd pick her up, and then we'd go home. Well, this one afternoon, we decided we wanted to go to Sonic to get something to drink. They always have those afternoon specials, where their drinks are half price. So we tootled on to Sonic, and we hear this thing going off. And we're like, what is that? We don't know. We've never been in an area where there were tornado sirens. We get our drinks. The girl comes out and she says, do you girls want to come inside? We kind of looked at her real funny. We're like, no, we only live 2 blocks away. Why would we want to come inside? She goes, because of the siren. And I said, what is the siren? She said, it's a tornado siren. That means they've sighted a tornado. So my sister and I like, no, we're 2 blocks away. We'll go home, get home. So we get out on this main road, and it's normally a road that's really busy. There's nobody on the road but us. As I turn the corner to the street where we live, I see the tornado coming down that street right behind me. Now, it was a small one, but it was the first tornado I'd seen in person. So I fly into the driveway, yell at my sister, get in the house. So as we get in the house, the telephone's ringing. I don't know what to do. I answer the phone. My grandmother's like, where have you girls been? So I tell her we'd stopped at Sonic. I said, Nana, there's a tornado coming down the street next to us. What do we do? She goes, oh my God, get in the bathtub, pull a mattress over you. So we do that. My cat's outside this bathtub meowing at me. Well, at us. And he's looking up, and you're getting up, looking up. Finally, he jumps in there, and he's like licking both of us, and he's got this look like, what are you doing? And I can hear the phone ringing, but we're in the bathtub. Can't bring the phone in there. So we stayed there probably about 15, 20 minutes. And I thought, I don't hear anything else, but that phone keeps ringing off the hook. So we get out. The phone's ringing. I answer the phone, and it's my Nana again. Why didn't you answer the phone? Nana, we were in the bathtub. And she goes, oh yeah, I did tell you to do that. At that time, you couldn't take the phone in. There were no cordless sets, those kind of things. So we learned something very valuable that week and that day. And the main thing was, and this is something my dad, when he got home, said we need to start doing, is we need to make sure we know what to do in case of an emergency. A lot of us as families don't stop to think about that. Like, if you're in a 2-story house, what happens if the house catches on fire? The fire is downstairs, you're upstairs, what do? Those kind of things, we just don't think about them. So my dad started, doing this and researching. And from there, we had little tornado drills in the house. And places where if the house caught on fire, we were to meet. If we got out of the house, we looked at ways to escape the house. What if? The reason I say that is tornadoes have been exceptionally active this year, and that is due to the cooler airs and then the hot air that comes in. Tornadoes form. It's not global warming, folks. It's something called weather, and it has to do with weather patterns. So I think it's important that we all make sure we have emergency plans so that we know what to do in case of an emergency. So if your family has that, you live in an area, you might want to think about what to do in case of emergency. Make sure everybody is all on the same page. They know what to do. They know how to reach each other so that you can let someone know that you're okay. Those kind of things. I know a lot of us on Facebook, like when we hear about a tornado in the area, a couple of times I've seen people post, like those tornadoes that hit in Oklahoma, Carla, please check in. And it's just a way to make sure that the people we care about are okay. Carla is real good about making sure we know everything is fine. So, but that day with Crystal was kind of scary, because it brought back those memories. And she did come on a few minutes later and tell us the okay was all right. Everything was fine. Of course, the next morning on TV, you saw all those tornadoes that were there in Iowa that had touched down. Got to see the films. So, it's still a scary thing. But we need to think about having emergency plans, you know, for things that might come up. All right, guys, that's it. Everybody remember, have a great week. And what in tarnation I'm going to film tomorrow and add it in to this. So this may come out Wednesday, it may come out late Tuesday. With that, choose kindness. Everybody have a great week. Bye. Okay, it's time for what in tarnation. First off comes a pair of glasses were left on the floor at a museum, and everyone mistook it for art. The teen behind the oaks had a similar experience with a baseball cap and a pen. Several visitors to the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art this week were fooled into thinking a pair of glasses set on the floor by a 17-year-old prankster was a postmodern masterpiece. Upon first arrival, we were quite impressed with the artwork and paintings presented in the huge facility. However, some of the art wasn't very surprising to some of us. We stumbled upon a stuffed animal on a gray blanket and questioned if this was really impressive to some of the nearby people. To test out the theory that people will stare at and try and artistically interpret anything if it's in a gallery setting, this young man set a pair of glasses down and walked away. Soon people began to surround them, maintaining a safe distance from the artwork and taking several of pictures. I like to think they imagined the floored glasses to represent the dumbing down of culture, or perhaps the viewing of life through a lens, possibly with a nice lowercase title like myopia or real eyes. Real lies? The teen tweeted the moment on 24th of May, and it's already attracted over 45,000 retweets, ironically making the whole event a sort of modern art piece itself. He previously had a similar success with a baseball cap and a pen. The stunt brings to mind a similar one in 2014, which saw a restaurant critics unknowingly served McDonald's. This young teen was quick to defend modern art, though. I can agree that modern art can be a joke sometimes, but art is a way to express our own creativity, he added. Some may interpret it as joke. Some may find great spiritual meaning in it. At the end of the day, I see it as pleasure for open-minded people and imaginative minds. And this one, an escaped bull visits elementary school in Idaho. Police in Idaho responded to an elementary school where an education-minded escaped bull showed up on the wrong day for classes. Nampa police said officers were able to round up the loose bull Sunday morning and keep it contained in the yard at Endeavor Elementary School. The bovine was loaded into a trailer and taken to a Caldwell animal shelter. Police said the bull's owner was identified Sunday evening and plans were made to return the animal to its home. Irish students break back patting world record. More than 800 students at an Irish school gave each other pats on the back to break a Guinness World Record. The Willow Park Parents Association said 824 students from Willow Park, Black Rock College, and St. Andrews College formed a chain on the front lawn of Black Rock College in the afternoon Thursday and exchanged pats on the back. The association said they bested the record of 329 people patting each other on the back at England's Leicester, I think that's how you pronounce it, Grammar Junior School in June of 2018. The attempt served as a fundraiser for charity Dogs for the Disabled. Officials said they are submitting evidence from the attempt to Guinness World Records for official recognition. You go! That's fantastic. And raising money for charity? Next one has to do with Pokemon. Ever wanted to get married in a Pokemon service? Officially licensed Pokemon weddings are offered in Japan. The Pokemon Company announced it is teaming with a wedding planning firm in Japan to offer themed ceremonies featuring the franchise's monsters. Wedding planning company Escrete and the Pokemon Company said they recently held the very first officially licensed Pokemon-themed wedding, which featured appearances from two Pikachu mascots dressed as a bride and groom. Photos shared by the Pokemon Company show Pokemon-themed food items at the ceremony, including cake with a Pikachu cake topper. The package also includes a marriage certificate laden with the Pokemon imagery. Pokemon weddings, which are currently only available in Japan, can be purchased from the ESCRIT website. Go get you a Pokemon wedding. That's something my husband and I would probably do. Llama Mama, this one's for you. Escaped llama eludes capture in Canada. Police in Alberta said they are trying to find the owner of an apparent escaped llama that gave officers the slip and remains on the loose in the area. Strathcona County Community Peace Officers tweeted a video of officers pursuing the llama Tuesday on the Strathcona County back roads, but the officers were unable to capture the unusual animal. Police said the llama was last seen still on the loose Wednesday morning. Investigators are attempting to identify the llama's owner. They are asking anyone who knows where the animal came from to contact the police. In the video, the llama's just trucking along, side of the road. He could use a shave. Shaggy, shaggy. Well, probably not. It's probably still too cool there. This next one I had reposted on Facebook, and I love this story. Knitting trucker discovers an excellent way to beat smoking addiction. Adam Ditmore, the knitting trucker went down to 0 cigarettes from 2 packs a day. Beating any addiction isn't easy, and that's true, it isn't. Adam Ditmore, a trucker from Detroit, can vouch for that. However, he also found a way to get rid of his addiction. Smoker for 25 years, he was consuming 2 packs of cigarettes a day. Then he suddenly quit and also got a cool nickname as the Knitting Trucker. For 1 year, the trucker hasn't smoked even 1 cigarette. His secret is quite simple. One day, fed up with his addiction, he decided to do something else to keep his hands busy. Instead of reaching for another cigarette, he reached for a pair of knitting needles. Together with a ball of yarn, the knitting needles now keep him occupied. Whenever he needs to wait, whether it is for unloading or refueling, he has something to do. Asked if his colleagues gave him a hard time for being a knitter, he replies, "Sometimes they give me trouble, but in a playful way. Their wives tell them they should learn." Ditmore learned how to knit from his grandmother while he was only 5 or 6 when he had touched knitting supplies for the first time. He never forgot the craft. His wife had no idea about his knowledge of knitting, but when they visited a craft store, he astounded her with his insight into yarn. From that moment forward, the trucker rediscovered his passion for knitting. The biggest gain, however, is how he used knitting to give up smoking. It really helped me quit smoking. It gave me something to focus on, and it's been a year without cigarettes. The truck driver uses his newfound passion for other purposes as well. He grabs his needles at the end of a long day to relax. Even more, he is now teaching his sons, aged 12 and 6, how to knit. And that is this week's What in Tarnation. I hope you enjoyed it, but my favorite story besides the llama running down the side of the road is that a trucker used craft to help stop an addiction. It could have been crochet, it could have been knitting, but either way, he used it as something to help him relax and also quit a bad addiction. All right, guys, see you next week.